When I first heard that I'd be reviewing the Samsung Galaxy A5, I was expecting a fairly mediocre mid-range handset from the Korean giant, sort of in line with a lot of their previous efforts in this space. But instead, what I actually received was a premium feeling mid-range device with fairly decent hardware inside, which to be honest, was quite a surprise for me. It's Tim Sheetzer here for TechSpot, and before we get straight into the review of the Samsung Galaxy A5, I'd just like to thank expansies.com.au for sending out the Galaxy A5 for me to review today. This device actually isn't available in a number of territories at the moment, including Australia and also the United States, but if you do want to get this device or a number of other devices with great prices and fast shipping, definitely head to expansies-usa.com if you live in the United States, or expansies.com.au if you live in Australia like I do. I've been using them for a number of years and they provide a fantastic service. Anyway, let's get on with the review, and the first thing to note about the Samsung Galaxy A5 is its excellent build quality. It's fairly similar to the Galaxy Alpha that I reviewed last year in that it's a fairly slim device. It's 6.7mm thin. The Galaxy A5 is slightly larger because it upgrades from a 4.7 to a 5-inch display, but even though this is a mid-range device as opposed to a premium flagship like the Galaxy Alpha was, the metal build quality of the A5 is superior to the Galaxy Alpha. I like this phone a lot more than I like the Alpha, mostly because of the seamless transition between the metal around the edges and the plastic on the back. And this is because Samsung has decided not to make a removable back cover for the Galaxy A5 and instead just go with a fixed piece of pearlescent sort of shiny plastic on the back, which feels quite nice. It doesn't feel as cheap as some of the previous Samsung devices, but it also feels tough and well integrated into the rest of the body. And of course on the front we also get some smooth and tough Gorilla Glass to protect the 5-inch 720p display. As the Galaxy A5 is just 6.7mm thin and under 130 grams light, it's a very portable device despite its 5-inch display size. It's not the most ergonomic design I've ever seen, although including things like the power button on the right-hand edge in the perfect position for general use does improve the usability of the device overall. I'm not a huge fan of the physical home button that's included below the display. With on-screen buttons now being a major feature of Android, I tend to think that that is a better implementation these days, but it's not too bad on the Galaxy A5 because it's not a massive device. On the left-hand edge you'll find the volume rocker, and on the top just a microphone. On the bottom edge you'll also find a micro USB port as well as a 3.5mm audio jack. And as I mentioned earlier, the back cover of the Galaxy A5 is not removable, so there are no SIM card slots hidden under the back panel or a removable battery. Instead, on the right-hand edge, just below the power button, you'll find 2 SIM card slots, or at least 2 on the Duos model of the Galaxy A5. One of the SIM card slots is just a SIM card slot that is used for your primary SIM, but the other SIM card slot is used also for a micro SD card slot. So you have the opportunity to choose between using this as a dual SIM device with either 2 SIM cards in each of the slots, or a single SIM device with expanded storage through that micro SD card slot. The device does come with 16GB of storage out of the box, which is not too bad if you decide to use it as a dual SIM handset. As well as the fantastic build quality we've seen on the Galaxy A5, we also get an excellent AMOLED display. It's 5 inches in size and comes with a 720p resolution, which is fairly typical for this class of mid-range device, but it is built using the same AMOLED technology as the Galaxy Note 4 and the Galaxy Alpha, so the latest AMOLED technology, which makes it look simply fantastic. Colors are still a little bit too vibrant for my liking, but that's simply a characteristic of AMOLED panels. You also get deep blacks and a fantastic contrast ratio, and better outdoor visibility than we typically see from AMOLED panels. LCDs is still slightly ahead in this respect, but the brightness you get and the viewing angles from this AMOLED panel are quite good, and this helps to make the Galaxy A5's display one of the best AMOLEDs used in a mid-range device. I also wanted to touch on briefly the performance of the Samsung Galaxy A5. This is one of the first devices I've seen to use Qualcomm's new Snapdragon 410 SoC, which succeeds the Snapdragon 400. It's a 64-bit capable quad-core Cortex A53 CPU clocked at 1.2 GHz, as well as the Adreno 306 GPU, and compared to the Snapdragon 400, which was perfectly fine for mid-range usage, we're getting around 20% more CPU performance, even in simple 32-bit applications. However, there hasn't been too much of an improvement on the GPU side. So this SoC is still mostly designed for 720p devices, and generally speaking, the performance around the operating system was fantastic, and we should see that improve once this device is upgraded to Android 5.0, which is one of the downsides actually of the Galaxy A5, that we're not running Android 5.0 out of the box. It's still an Android 4.4 with a very similar software addition to the Galaxy Note 4 and the Galaxy Alpha. So if you wanted to check out more on the software and also performance benchmarks, don't forget to check out the full review on TechSpot.com, where we go through all of that stuff in detail. But the good stuff about the Galaxy A5 doesn't stop there. We're also getting quite good battery life, although it's not excellent because the device only comes with a 2300 mAh battery to help it become so slim, but we're also seeing a fantastic camera. Inside the Galaxy A5 is a 13 megapixel Sony Exmor RS sensor, the very same sensor that we've seen in flagship devices like the LG G3 and G2, the Samsung Galaxy Note 3, and also the Galaxy S4. So what we're being set up for is a fantastic sensor coming down to the price point of a mid-range device. And generally speaking, this camera produces excellent results, especially in strong lighting and also when you're using HDR mode. It's not as good in indoor conditions and low light because we're missing things like large pixels and optical image stabilization, but results that you get across the board are definitely superior to other devices that I've seen in this price point and in this category before. So it's an excellent thing to see that Samsung has managed to bring a high quality camera like this down to the price point of something like the Galaxy A5. On the front, we also get a 5 megapixel selfie camera, which, as you'd expect, is pretty average and generally you should just use it for selfies, but it does the job. So you've probably got through most of this review thinking that, well, the Galaxy A5 seems like a fairly decent mid-range device, but there is one glaring issue with it that means that I can't actually recommend this handset, at least at the moment, and that is the price. Samsung has decided to retail the Galaxy A5 for $400 US, which is around about, or at least in fact, $100 too expensive for this class of device with the hardware that you're getting, things like the mid-range Snapdragon 410 and the 720p display. The main issue with retailing a mid-range device in the $400 price bracket is that last generation flagships tend to occupy anywhere from $350 to $450 US. At the moment, you can get devices like the Sony Xperia Z2 and also the LG G2 for the same amount of money as the Galaxy A5, and these devices include things like 1080p displays, up to 20 megapixel cameras, Snapdragon 800 SoCs inside, and when you're getting that much better hardware in a device for the same price as the Galaxy A5, it becomes quite hard to recommend this particular mid-range device because, of course, you can get a better device simply by going for something like the LG G2. However, if this device was priced more around the $299, $300 mark, it'd be much easier to recommend because devices in that price bracket are not nearly as good as the Galaxy A5. So it becomes an instant recommendation when it is, hopefully, eventually priced at $300 US, but at the moment priced at $400, it's quite a hard sell over devices like the LG G2. Anyway, that's it for my review of this Samsung Galaxy A5. Big shout out again to expansies.com.au for providing me with the Galaxy A5 to review. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more video reviews, unboxings, and hands-on coming in the future. And of course, check back on TechSpot.com for the full written review. Thanks guys, this has been a TechSpot video review.